Let's give them something to talk about. I see the energy running out. I got a planet to run around. Okay, okay. You ain't do nothing but run your mouth. No, I don't want to be humble now.
All right, we're doing it. Jamie asked. We both asked each other about 5 or 6 times. Do you want to do this podcast? You want to do this
At least
podcast?
5 or 6 times. Yeah.
Right.
A couple days.
And given the incidents of the weekend and the passing of Lazar Ducik, it feels somewhat hollow. And on a little bit of a level, I can relate to certainly how the athletes felt about going and continuing on with what they want with what they're doing. I wanted to share my not my experience, necessarily experiences with respect to Lazar Ducik,
yeah.
But to talk about the games venue and the events of the weekend outside of what happened with Lazar. And this is not I dedicate this episode. Jamie and I talked about it. We dedicate this episode to Lazar Ducik, and an amazing athlete. The more I learn about him, the more I'm impressed by him, and not only as an athlete but as a human,
as a person. Yeah.
And his passing is terribly tragic. And but we want to move forward, and start the process of healing.
Yep.
And we'll do that through this podcast that Jamie and I both were very hesitant to do. And that sometimes that's what we have to do, is we have to pick up, dust off, and move forward. And so we're doing that. If you comment, keep them civil, please. Everybody grieves in a different way, and I respect and honor any way people do, with the exception of attacking others for how they do it.
Yeah.
If you want to know how I feel about the weekend and the passing of Lazar and the incident itself, and the support for the continuation of the games, you can go to diablocrossfit.com and click on the blog, and you'll find the letter that I wrote, the very long email that I wrote to our community describing the entire situation from start to finish, from my perspective, including the meetings that were held, the communications that were done, and then the investigation and follow-up that is surely to come soon. So with that, by the way, I'll just preface it with one thing, with respect to my opinion. I've competed at the CrossFit Games a few years as a masters athlete in Carson, and I've also we have had 57 athletes here at the games, competing at the games over the years.
10 years,
We've had multiple teams at the games. We've had multiple athletes at the games. I know and am friends with, so I'm biased, friends with Dave Castro. I know Don Fall very well, and Dave and Don are very competent individuals, very honorable individuals, and very, very interested in making sure that this incident is fully investigated and will, I think, produce the information that people are desperately seeking about it, so that everyone can move forward and the appropriate changes made should the outcome determine that. So that's my position as an individual too. I will tell you that I've done in my lifetime, because I was a triathlete for a number of years, in my late 30s, early 40s, I've done 6 triathlons, Olympic distance, and all 5 of them were in Texas, in and around Austin and the Dallas area. Ironically, I've done 6 marathons. 5 of them were in Texas. I lived in Texas from the end of '99 until 2005, and it was it was an exciting time, and it was and those were amazing events. Some were better run than others, but I do have significant experience. I played water polo and was a lifeguard myself when I was younger, so I've got certainly knowledge and experience, but I'm not going to render an opinion on what happened until all of the evidence comes back. We have seen this time and time again on the internet, social media, go right where everybody jumps to conclusions. There were so many incidents that occurred 4 years ago that people were jumping to conclusions on without proper knowledge, and you just end up either looking foolish, or even if you're right, it still doesn't
mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything. So let's wait until all the data and trust the individuals that are in charge that they want to do the right thing, because they do. Anyway, let's move on. One thing I wanted to talk about, Jamie, was the venue, and then I want to talk to you about the workouts. I wanted to get your opinion on the workouts and what you thought about the workouts themselves specifically, as tests. And is it just as a question I'll put out there, and then we'll come back to it, is do you think that these workouts that the athletes did, 9 workouts, were enough, or of a structure that produced the fittest in the world for those athletes that competed in this competition? So I'll leave that kind of hanging out there. First, I want to talk about the venue, because I got a good question the other day that I was kind of stumped by when I was talking about the events, and then everybody's talking about the games, and they're talking about Lazar's passing, tragic as it is. But one question that came up to me that had me stumped was, okay, so how would you rate the games venue compared to past venues? And I was like, well, and instantly I started thinking about it. I was about to say, just spout off right away, because I was kind of awed by the presence of the Dickies Arena. I was about to say Ft.Worth, and I was like, wait a minute, let me think about this from the perspective of all of the things that were available,
all the amenities,
all the amenities and the environment, the surroundings, and I gave my answer, and I surprised myself with my answer. And so here, and because I have some PTSD with Carson too, you remember some of the things down there that were uncomfortable, especially for some of our competitors.
Yep.
But I will tell you this, that in terms of ranking from a fan perspective and participation in the event, I rank them as follows. First place is Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
In Madison, Wisconsin, because it was a college town, the entire town got behind it.
When you think of it from that, that's true.
Right? You remember when we were there?
As soon as you drive into Madison, it's like you see signs, fittest city on earth.
Yeah, remember that? And then you go around, you remember going to Trader Joe's, and there was a sign welcoming, and then everybody would ask you. You were kind of a little bit embarrassed. Hey, you a CrossFitter? You know?
Oh, everywhere you went.
Right? and then, but the food there was good.
Okay. Yep.
The bar, it just had a really intimate
good
feeling
vibe
there.
throughout the city.
And then I remember this too, is that the lines were long to get into the venue, but once you were in the venue, now granted, the difference was between this and say Ft.Worth. In Madison, they charged you $90 just to be there, and then if you wanted a seat in the arena, you had to pay a premium. But what was really cool is about Madison, you would come into, like, you walk in, they had the that long line, and they got through that line pretty quick. It didn't take that long to get in there. And then once you got in, you could go in and out really easily. But you walked in and you got this kind of like, whoa, I'm at the CrossFit Games. And it was a big open area, I remember. And then they had the field close by.
It was all kind of really close to each other, especially with like the vendor area,
and the parking wasn't that bad. I mean, it was, you may have had to walk a little bit if you parked away on the field, but it wasn't that bad. You got there, and it was like shorts and t-shirts, and flip flops,
definitely.
And then when you went back and forth the arena, and if you didn't want to go to the arena, you go out to that open vendor area right before the field where they had a big screen, and then if you wanted to, you could go indoors.
You can go to that little area where they were like serving like drinks and stuff.
They just had the big bar there
with the huge big ass fans.
Oh, that's right, with the big ass fans. And that was it was really freaking cool.
That was cool because it was super convenient, because it's like, oh man, I'm tired, I need to get out of the sun, or I need to get a break, or just going in there between events was just a nice way to kind of cool off.
And what were your thoughts like in Madison about athlete facilities?
I would say the athlete facilities were awesome. I mean, it was a little cold because when you got into like that warm-up area, I mean, they did a good job as far as like keeping it for the athletes specifically. Like no media teams were allowed back there.
Oh yeah.
No phones. Like they're really, this is for the athlete space. So that way they can be in their head space and focus on what they've got going on.
Yeah.
But then, not being at Dickies, but we had the main warm-up area, and then we would transition to whichever field, whether it be in the Coliseum or out on the field. And there was a separate warm-up area, which was kind of nice from an athlete perspective, because you check in 40 minutes to an hour before you actually compete, and having that secondary warm-up space was crucial.
There were things to do when the athletes weren't competing, or in between workouts, or if you want to just take a break from the competition. And one thing was really neat was, you get in and around that town on a bicycle.
Yeah.
And you could go to all these little different places around. So Madison's my
that, and the RV setup was my God, right there. That's another detail. That's another major detail.
What am I talking about? They had that amazing RV park.
Just walk right on into the
right
event.
next to it. And then it became a fight to get those RV spaces and events. And then
we had our own gym outside.
Yeah, we had our own gym. And then Mayhem set up
a
big old huge gym.
They were running classes
in the middle of RV park. And then there was in the evenings there's parties going. There was stuff hosted by the sponsors. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So Madison's my number one for that reason.
Okay. For the RV reason?
That's
a big part of it. Yeah.
That was a big part of it.
Yeah.
Second place was I was instantly going to say Fort Worth. And then I started thinking about everything down there at Carson when we went.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's the same now. And then I had to pick Carson as number 2.
Really?
Yeah. In the Carson number 2, a similar, because I got a similar feeling walking in and around the facilities.
Yeah.
And this is something that they may want to change for Fort Worth next year, because this could be the tipping point. And by that, I mean, once you were in the facility at Carson, you had the ability to walk around from the tennis stadium to where the vendors were, to the field. And it was just kind of casual. And then there was a place where the affiliates could hang out. Remember, down behind the field, that was cool. And then they had the big soccer field that they could use. And that gave you a different feel.
Yeah.
So it's like, and look, I got ADD. So, for me, it was like, having these different venues made it interesting. So and I'm surprised, because I was really hyped up on, and this is not to take away from the venue and event. I'll talk about Fort Worth in a minute and what went and the stuff that was available there. But I put right now, and this is the first year, I'm comparing the first year of Fort Worth, a tragic year, versus like 3 or 4 really good years where each year at Madison got better than the next. Like they made improvements every year.
They did. Yeah.
And they did that down at Carson too, remember?
I feel like Carson
got worse.
Dude, so my first time at Carson was my first time going to the CrossFit Games. 2011.
Right.
You guys were competing as a team. We had our tent city, right? Remember, we had tent city for our affiliate had a spot. So we had like a location where we could hang out.
Yes.
Not only that, but I don't know. Do you remember how they set up the that whole like spectator area?
Yeah.
They had a paddle. They brought in and built a pool for paddleboarding.
Oh yeah.
They had a
remember that
beach volleyball net.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They had slacklining.
Yeah.
They had all kinds of things going on that you could do as a spectator.
That's right.
And I thought that was
so
and then
they
much
took
fun.
all that away.
That was the only year they did that.
Yes.
That was so much fun. Like they had like Michelob Ultra come up and set up like a walk-up bar
off
of a truck.
The masters and the masters love saying this shit. The masters in my age group that were competing back then, they love saying this.
Back in my day,
we competed in the parking lot at Masters.
Yeah.
But let me tell you what was cool about that, because then they moved us down to that field, which was much further away.
Yeah.
What was cool about competing in the parking lot, and I didn't mind, like, okay, there's some stuff like burpees on the pavement, they could have made that a little bit better. But what was cool is it was so close to everything.
Yeah.
It was right outside the arena and everything. Where
it was between the main arena, the tent city, and Vendor Village,
and it was old school CrossFit. They had little barriers around, and it was like literally a small area.
It was like a little mini throwdown,
and we had tons of people that would come watch because it was so available.
Yeah,
like you didn't have to go to a whole separate area at all. It was really neat. And my experience there in 2011 was awesome. As an athlete, I sucked. but it was still awesome. And so yeah, Carson, that's a good point. So Carson kind of
declined
Carson
in that aspect.
Carson 2011 was awesome.
They went big on that first year. I don't think they followed back with that.
I remember Tony Budding telling me, Tony Budding used to head up CrossFit Media. I remember Tony Budding telling me, or no, I'm sorry, Dave Castro told me, he goes, Tony was like, we need a big screen down on the field. We need a giant screen over this area. And they would remember them setting up with these massive
TVs.
This is before they had massive TVs. So it was like setting up a massive big screen TV was like setting up 100 of those of your living room TV stacked. Remember they connected all together. It was just this massive.
And we were able to watch that from the
I remember those screens blowing and waving in the wind, just going, "Oh man!" but that was an awesome event, and we had that's funny that you say that. I remember 2011. You're right, it did, because by the time we left, it was the bare bones. At Carson, it probably was budget related. I'm sure.
I'm sure. I mean, to set up a pool in a parking lot that you can have essentially 8 people paddleboarding on.
Was that the same year they had bull riding too?
That was a bull riding. Yeah, that was the year of the bull riding. They had a bull riding thing right next to the slack line.
Oh my God.
But the beach, I mean, I thought that was really unique from a spectator perspective.
Yes.
Because not only are you going to just watch the fittest on the earth, but you're also there to be with your community. And this is a great way to kind of mingle with other people. I was playing volleyball with people from, I don't know where.
Right.
We were just having a great time.
What's interesting about that, Jamie, is that year is the closest year to Aromas.
That's true.
So meaning
that's a really good point.
Right. Meaning they're trying to duplicate what Aromas was like, which was.
Do they have a pool in Aromas?
No. I mean, that's okay. If I put Aromas on the list, by the way, Aromas coming in last. Not that I didn't love Aromas. It was awesome.
As far as amenity goes.
But good Lord, it was dirty. It could have, one day it could be 100 degrees. The next day it could be 50 degrees.
It fucking raining.
Remember that? It was. It did rain there.
Did it really?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Remember the pull-up bars with
that's
the
right.
rags?
You're right.
Oh my God. So, but I got off talking. Anyway, Aromas was just like this Woodstock type environment, which is what they kind of wanted to emulate. And then they went overboard with it. We had 2011. But he's right. They did that. The bull and the kids were in the pool.
Yeah.
And it was, and I remember my daughter was young then. I remember she was 10, maybe
10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, or she was 9. And I remember leaving her at the tent with other people from Diablo. And they're just, and she's running all over, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Doing kid stuff.
It was really freaking cool. You're right. That was a good year.
That was, I honestly, I've only been as a spectator a few times.
Now you got me thinking this differently. Maybe it wasn't Madison is the best. Maybe that 2011,
2011 Carson was the best.
Carson was amazing. Yeah, if we went by year, but we're not. We're just doing in general. So I'm going with Madison first, and then I'm going with Carson second, and then we'll go to Ft.Worth.
Okay.
I put Ft.Worth third. And I didn't think when I answered this question, this is all just because someone asked me a question.
Yeah.
I didn't think about, I was like, wow, I just put Ft.Worth third. And I was so hyped for it. It was going to be really amazing. Now, this is what I'll tell you. The arena itself, when you walked into that arena, is really impressive.
The layout from video looked really good.
Yeah, you could be anywhere.
There was a good seat everywhere.
Everywhere was a great seat.
Yeah.
It really was.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked around that arena, walked and looked. You could see everything. It didn't matter. I got to go up into this atrium lounge, which was at one of the end zones that CrossFit gave us a passport for the affiliate council. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
It was just relaxing. I just felt relaxed there. And then went and sat down and it was relaxing in the seats too.
Yeah.
Just because of the comfort of the seats, the modernity of it, the bathroom, there was just ton of bathrooms.
It's a newer venue.
Dude, the concessions inside the arena. And you remember concessions at Carson. You got hot dogs and pretzels, and
fried
popcorn,
chicken,
fried chicken. And remember, most of these events like this, the venue controls concessions.
Mm-hmm.
That was the difference with Madison, Wisconsin, because it was set up in an area where it was set up in an area that essentially was not made for that type of event. And so then CrossFit brought in their own food trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Fort Worth, they relied upon the Dickies concessions, and they were good. Like they had really good stuff there.
Like
and
they had
and
opportunity to
plentiful.
pick
I
a
walked
menu.
around a number of times when it was full in there, and by the way, it did fill up in there. It was the crowd in there was really impressive. And when I walked around all of the concessions, there was a line, but not oppressive. When they and so the venue itself, like where the bulk of the workouts took place, cool as hell.
Yeah,
really easy to see. And they had this amazing drop down screen
cool.
up above in the middle
Where they were able to.
It was that was really readable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you could watch stuff, you could highlight stuff, you could watch the event going down there. So that was awesome. What was difficult about Dickies Arena was getting into it.
Was it just
and
like a bottleneck?
Well, yeah. So again, this is going to be, I'm going to vent a little bit. Is security is controlled by Dickies Arena?
Okay,
not by CrossFit.
Yeah.
And so they had security lines at every single entry point that, and you could not bring in, this was tell a CrossFitter this, you can't bring in a backpack. If you brought in a backpack, it had to be clear backpack.
What?
Yeah, just like
a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, like I said, well, that's what people have. They had clear backpacks. People that know and have gone to venue, and that's with concerts today. A lot of concerts, like Yvonne and I went to Cirque du Soleil, and you can't bring anything in bigger than like a Buddha bag.
Interesting,
right? Oh yeah, so when I talk about the logic of something like this, and I think about this, and I'm like, okay, why do I? Like if I'm gonna do something harmful, to shoot someone, I could just shoot the line that's out in front of people that's 4 people deep and about 200 meters long. Like I wouldn't even wait to go inside with it and do something. So it really was cumbersome, especially with as hot as it was outside.
Yeah, if you're getting stuck outside. How long was the line? Well, I mean,
so when it first starts,
hey, hold on. What is it? Was the line worse to get into the venue than Madison? Because you still had to stand in line outside. Granted, we never really had to. I mean, as a coach and having access from the RV section, that main line from the front of Madison, is that line what you're kind of referring to?
Okay, so that's good. That's a great question.
Because like to get into the arena, the Coliseum at that was not.
Yeah. So that's where the problem came.
Got it.
Instead of in Madison, you'd pay $90 to get into the venue, which they had the entire venue fenced off, which gave you access to all the different areas. But the whole thing was fenced and enclosed.
That's true.
An acre.
They kicked everybody out when the rain came and lightning came.
2 or 3 acres, all fenced in. So you got access. Your ticket got you in there, whether you had an arena ticket or the pass. Remember, in Fort Worth, access to the vendor area was free.
Open,
So what they had to do was, they wanted to make sure, that people were there for CrossFit, and they had all their information. So on the first day, the line was about an hour to an hour and a half long to get into the free area. 3 to 4 people wide with only like 2 places of entry. And what they were doing is going in, and they would you had to have a pass, even though it was free, which gave basically CrossFit your data. And so they knew who was
how
there.
many people were actually
how many were there, and specifically
got it.
How
would you get that?
Like it was online.
So you had to
you had to go get it. So that was cumbersome.
Yeah.
And they did bag checks where they allowed you to bring a backpack in there, but then they did bag checks. Every single person that went into the free area. Now, once you went in, you had free access within the vendor area to move around inside that building for the free area. But if you left the building, you had to go back, stand in that line again. If you left the building and wanted to go over to Dickies, you had to go stand in the Dickies line.
Because
the Dickies line was a separate ticket
to get into. Yeah.
What that created was a bottleneck at every entry point. We figured like little sneaky deaky ways, which entrances at what time was the good way to do it. That problem has to be resolved by CrossFit for next year.
Yeah.
And I think what they might do is charge a nominal fee to get into the entire area of the Dickies Arena.
Where they do like one bag check.
Yeah, one bag check, one thing, just like they do
didn't
in
check
Madison.
bags in Madison after you got in.
Yeah, once you got in, you're free to go, and then you could leave your bag and go out, but no one ever left.
Yeah.
Whereas here it was 2 separate venues, 2 separate events, and then
that makes sense.
Very long lines. And when you put something for free, look, it's great for the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people came. A lot of people from Texas were there and they would just go in and they would sit and watch it in there and then hang out and with all the vendors. Now, the arena itself was awesome and it was fun being in there. And once you're in there, it was relaxing and cool and nice. And the bathrooms were nice. Everything was nice.
It's like once you got in there, you didn't want to leave.
You didn't want to leave inside the Coliseum. That's right. But
not all the events were there. So you kind of had to come and go anyway.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that was the other thing. So Farrington Field.
Yeah.
So we went out to Farrington Field for Friday Night Lights.
Mm-hmm.
Parking for Farrington Field. And, by the way, parking for Dickies Arena was cumbersome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was $15 to park if you wanted to park close, but those lots filled up and then you had to park further away.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a hike in the heat.
I feel like parking in any of these kind of venues suck.
Yeah. I can't really bitch about that.
Unless you're actually on site, like an RV setup, then
good.
It sucks.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. That's pretty equally sucky no matter where you go. The Farrington Field, however, so we go over to Farrington Field and the parking there was sucky. But the people that went over early to be there for the start, same thing, bag check to go in, only a few security gates open, 1.5 hours in line for people.
That's the whole event.
There were people that missed the whole first part because they couldn't get in. Hour and a half. And this was people that came 45 minutes, 30 minutes early.
How could CrossFit actually change that or fix that?
Yeah.
I mean, if it comes down to the security and the venue security, then
CrossFit doesn't that's something that CrossFit can't control. You can't control concessions. You can't control security. Can't control parking. They give that to the venue to manage. That's because that's their, and they generate fees that way. I think they have to have discussions with them about how it's executed.
Yeah. Because
the timeliness of CrossFit events, you got people shuttling back and forth between venues, and that's really unique. I'm making an assumption, but I'm assuming that because they would do some big rodeos there. Mm-hmm. Professional, the PBR, the Professional Bull Riding Association, that's their place where they go and do that. But they come to that destination. I don't know if there's other stuff in and around or not. But they come to that destination and then they leave that destination. They don't go over to Farrington Field and watch people on the track and field. So CrossFit's unique to that. And so I'm sure they will learn from this because a number of people were commenting on it and complaining to people. You had to plan way ahead of time. We would leave the hotel to go and we'd leave an hour in advance. Just because we were there were things.
It's not even just trying to go get a seat. It's just so you can get in the venue.
So you into the venue.
Get to watch the event.
Wow. So that part they have to. I'm hopeful that they fix, and they usually do. Every year, the CrossFit Games gets a little bit more efficient, a little bit better with everything they do.
Kaizen.
Yeah. Including safety. I won't say a lot on it, but it improves every year. They learn from the previous year. Mm-hmm. So that part I hope that they resolve, because it was just you get so frustrated.
Yeah.
Then when you get inside, you're like, okay, calm down. Enjoy
grab a drink and chill.
Enjoy the event. And it was, they had lots of choices. What did I want to say? Farrington Field, though. Once we got into Farrington Field, I really love that field, and I love what they did. That was really unique as an overall CrossFit experience.
Yeah.
Way better than the field at Carson.
Okay, the field at Carson was just a basic track.
It was, but remember, it was a soccer field. That field.
Oh, I was thinking of the one, I'm thinking from the team side, the early days.
No. I'm talking about when it's soccer field, it was so
with
hard
the
to
berm run and everything.
Yeah. The Farrington Field is like a football stadium, a high school football stadium, really steep. You could really see down into the athletes.
That's cool.
And when the crowd roared, you could hear it.
Yeah.
We watched the women's from one side of the field, and then we walked all the way around, and the weather was outstanding.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 78 degrees,
nighttime.
A little breezy. Yeah, it was nighttime. Cool. It was a classic Texas night.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was really neat. we did get a chance to go out in Fort Worth. We went down to the Stockyards, which is kind of a famous place for all the restaurants. And that's going to like a old historic town.
Mm-hmm. Is it like a downtown or something?
Cowboy thing, yeah. Everybody drives big trucks there.
Yeah.
Big trucks. It was so fun to be, because I hung out with some of the guys from the affiliate council, Ian and Gavin, who are at CrossFit Glasgow, Scotland.
Okay.
And then Mikhail, who's from CrossFit Nîmes in France.
Okay.
And to watch them and see the reactions to the trucks and the big, like the F350 with the big cattle bumper. They all and they all got cattle bumpers because there's so many deer on the roads down there. Shit. And it was such a crack up, but it is West. It is the West. And you go in there and the bars had a Western, every bar was a Western theme, big ceilings, wood floors. And cool. That was really neat. Hats off to Go Ruck, by the way, for organizing an event on Thursday evening when, after the events were canceled for the day, everybody was looking for a place to come together. Yeah. And we went into that, and it wasn't a party. It was just people coming together. They got a chance to talk about the days, how they felt about the day's events. Everybody was hugging everybody. It was a really, really special event. And then the guys from the CrossFit medical team, Tom,
I saw that,
McCoy, got up and spoke to the bar, let them go up to the upper area, and then they spoke to the whole group of the bar, saying, look, if you need someone to talk to, reach out to us. Here's how you get a hold of us. And that was really special as well.
Yeah, he's come back out and put out some information.
And we all did a real quick informal toast to Lazar. So it was a really special night. But anyway, that Stockyard area is freaking cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was a really Western theme. So like in terms of extracurricular activities to do in Fort Worth, that's the
area.
In the area, they've got some really neat
way
stuff.
Better than Carson, huh?
Yeah, way better. Carson. I will say I thought that stuff was going to be closer. Okay. Meaning walk to.
Okay.
It's not. And everything in Texas is far away from everything.
Got to Uber everything, or
just you either Uber. So we went down to that. We took Uber just because parking down at the Stockyards is a pain in the ass. And then on Saturday night, we were invited. All the affiliates that were there were invited to an event out at this place called the Whiskey Ranch. And it was essentially a picture of brewery on a ranch, right? So if someone converts a ranch with all the barns and everything to all the brewery stuff, well, this was the same thing, but it was whiskey.
Oh, wow.
As distillery.
Yeah.
And each of the outbuildings, so there's the big barn where all the distilling takes place, which was cool.
Yeah.
But then they have all the outbuildings around the barn, all the various different, that would be for horses or for livestock or whatever it was. Those were all converted to bars.
So there's multiple bars on this property,
and it's but it plays like a private ranch. So you drive in, you go up this long ranch driveway, and you go into this circle. You can't park there. Parking is really far away.
Okay.
They have shuttles that bring you into it.
Okay.
Which is great because it keeps the theme nice. Like there's not cars everywhere in a parking lot. You are on a ranch. And when you're out there, so you go into an outbuilding, you get a drink, and then you walk out and you're in between the outbuildings and you're in Texas. It's like a Texas ranch in the Texas sky. And it's just
cool.
Oh man, that was cool. I really liked that experience. I would go back there. If anybody's down there in that Fort Worth area, go to the Whiskey Ranch.
Okay. And
they had whiskey tasting. It was really nice. And again, CrossFit was awesome because Daniel Chaffee, who's the European manager, brought everybody together. There's probably 200 people there at that event, maybe 250 people. Brought them all together.
This is the affiliate.
Yeah,
affiliate.
This affiliate gathering. These are all affiliate owners and their coaches and anybody else that you wanted to bring to this event. And then he gave a really nice speech. And because he is friends, he is good. He was very close with Lazar. They've known each other for years. Yeah. So he gave a really nice speech. And again, it was just, instead of going off and going to our hotels and looking on our phones and seeing all those stuff that was online, gave us a chance to be together, to talk to humans together.
I think that's probably way healthier.
Oh my, way healthier.
Way healthier.
Yeah. There's not much healthy about getting on your phone and
from a productive standpoint, this is how you're going to begin the grieving process.
That's right. It was.
And healing.
100%.
Yeah. Fuck.
It was really cool. And I was so grateful. And again, I look was that speech out anywhere? No.
That was just towards the affiliates.
It was just
those that were there.
Those that were
specifically.
there,
Okay.
but it wasn't specific to affiliates. It was just about Lazar and
Yeah.
about competition, about coming together, and about healing,
Yeah.
and about celebrating his life and
Yeah.
and paying respects to his family and friends.
Mhm.
It's really cool. It was a moment. People were crying.
Cool if that was out there.
I know. But again, it's like
it's
everything's better.
yeah,
Everything's
for
better.
Sure.
Let me tell you what, everything's better in person.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Everything's
true.
better in person,
Sure.
and social media, frankly, is just not healthy.
Yeah.
So that was really special, and I was so glad they did that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and then so again, Ft.Worth, all of these things are really close. Like the games, if anybody's doing CrossFit and you've done it for a couple years, the CrossFit Games should be on your bucket list.
Yeah,
because it is the mecca. There's regional meetings and there's those types of things. There's local competitions, and those give you a good feel.
Not the same.
Not the same.
Not even close.
CrossFit's the mecca where people come from all over the world that share this amazing passion for this methodology that's changed their lives, and we're all kind of in it together. And when you go there and you kind of see the celebration, you're talking to people. It's like, I don't know. It's like being in a foreign country and then walking into a place where everybody speaks your language.
It's like walking into a Cheers.
Yeah, it's like it is. It's like someone that I heard that comment several times over the weekend.
Yeah, and
you get just a tremendous sense of pride. So to the athletes that stayed on and competed, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. And I know
it was not an easy thing.
It was not, and I know the performances there were probably not your best as a result of all of the things going on. But gosh darn it, thank you so much for the hundreds of thousands or thousands of people that were there. What you did is you brought them together in this very difficult time, and I'm grateful for that. And for those of you that didn't compete, you know what, that's cool too.
Yeah,
you know,
to each their own.
Believe me, Jamie, ask Jamie. We went back and forth like 5 times on doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So now we felt kind of sick to our stomachs about doing it, and we carried on, and that's what we all have to do. You know, one thing I wanted to touch on, I wanted to touch on the workouts that were there because there's some really cool ones, and I want to go back because of stuff that was going on there, I didn't get a chance to see them. I won't watch Chad.
We kind of know how that one turned out.
we know how it turned out.
I mean, that was a unique setup though, with having to climb up. I'll be honest with you. Like,
I'll be honest with you.
That was a great way to do it.
I love the setup.
Yeah,
thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Jamie commented on, Firestorm, the workout Firestorm, which was 3 rounds for time of the Echo Bike calories and the 11 burpees over the barricade. I saw the team version of that, and I thought the barricade was I love the barricade. Now Jamie's not a big fan of the workout, but the barricade itself was cool because you have to. It's very visible. You have to leave. Your feet have to leave the ground, and it's just a little extra effort than a barbell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the reason why, so the workout itself, I don't dislike. The only reason why, it's like you're at the CrossFit Games. They've got everything there. I mean, why couldn't they have put like a 5-foot plexiglass window, where you have to jump over actually a larger item?
Oh, I got it.
Like just like the little barricade, like, I feel like that's something you would see at like a semifinal.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like,
or you might see it. Well,
it's a very basic workout.
Semifinals.
It's even basic.
If everybody had Echo Bikes, it could easily be an open workout.
Open workout. Exactly. That's a very good point. If we had Echo Bikes in the open, that's an open workout.
That's a good open workout.
Not a games workout.
Yeah, that's good for you. I appreciate that. The midline climb, they reduced the rope climbs.
I think that was.
I listened to Dave's commentary on it afterwards. He said that he felt like they made that decision on the fly.
Yeah,
and I think it turned out to be a better workout.
It was a better workout. It would have been a completely different event had it been 5 rope climbs.
Right, because they were still struggling with the rope climbs.
Yeah, 5 rope climbs, that would have been.
Yeah, it would have taken
25 rope climbs.
We had taken too long, and the deadlifts, and there were some battles going on at the end with the deadlifts.
Yeah,
you see people's posterior chains start to blow up.
Smoked.
Yeah,
yeah. I like that event. I like that event, especially since they changed it back to 3. Because otherwise, it's like it's now a rope climb.
Did any of our athletes done this workout here at Diablo? I think they have. Jay, no. Yeah, Jay, we know how you feel, buddy.
It's not an assault bike; it's an eco bike.
Yeah. So but hasn't? Do you know if anybody here?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
I can see.
Actually, no.
I can see Cole doing it, or
I feel like we did talk about programming. No, we did. Which
Yeah.
one? No. Yeah, we did. No, we do have this a variation of this programmed for our RX Plus crew this Saturday.
That's
this upcoming Saturday.
I think that's a great.
Yeah.
That's a great workout.
We were going back and forth on doing the full workout as it was prescribed, but
Right.
just from a logistical standpoint, because even if we were to start in waves,
Yeah.
because we only have X amount of GHDs, if we were to start in waves, it's not like you only hit the GHD once. You hit it once, but then you're back on it after 3 rope climbs. So then
Right.
it turns into a pretty big bottleneck.
The track and field workouts I loved, and I'm glad that Dave said that they were originally going to do the sprints and the sandbag carries first and then do the mile.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they didn't,
because then you got a baseline of a good what people are able to perform.
Dude, it was so fun to watch them run.
Yeah.
And the crowd loved it. Just to see their pace,
just the strategies too.
Yeah, the strategies, and
because you can really strategize during a mile run
and
versus
the last 200 meters, watching people trying to pass people in the last 200 meters
when they try to kick and they can't.
Yeah, they try to kick and they can't. Granted, because that's my funnest stuff in the Olympics is watching the track and field stuff. And the only thing I'll say is poor timing for this type of event, because to match it versus what I saw on TV with the Olympic athletes and how fast they are,
it's a good point.
Holy crap.
The contrast.
It is a huge contrast. And you really get an appreciation for how good the specialists are when you watch the Olympics, which makes the Olympics just a blast.
Although throw some of those Olympians and have them carry the bag.
I know. Maybe get back to that CrossFit, why CrossFit's, broad in general.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was really cool to see like Tia ran a 5:29, something like that, and then Ricky Garrard running a sub 5.
That's crazy.
That was really awesome.
Yeah.
And then he came on in the sprint, and then the sprint part too is like you could tell they were like, ooh.
I mean, at minute 12 was when they did the sprint. Like that's a good break.
Yeah,
it's good that they had that kind of a break.
Oh, I'm glad they had the break.
Oh man,
but that was fun. That was fun to watch too, and it was fun. The crowd went nuts during the sprint because it changed places. Who was in first versus who started out the fast.
I like the bag how they had that.
Yeah,
star. That was unique. It's kind of like how they did the cheese curd at Madison.
The Chad workout is monotonous. It's boring. Yeah. I do like.
It's a good
monostructural-ish.
Yeah.
Workout, like it fits a purpose, and it was, and so it was, and they finished in the 40-minute range.
Yeah.
Which was remarkable.
It's fast. I think that probably plays to how that was set up too. Like the fact there was step versus having to step up, step down, step up, step down.
Right.
So a little, you're able to get more steps in essentially.
Yeah. That was cool. It was a neat twist.
Yeah.
Right into the clean ladder, which was like,
wow,
man. But that was the second workout was like, wow, man. And that was, I will tell you right now that clean ladder was kind of the breakthrough moment at the games when people,
from an energy perspective,
where people felt it was okay to cheer.
I
will. The thing that I will tell you is, and I know, and I talked to Don Fall, the CEO, about it. And when they started again on Thursday, they kept the
started again on Friday.
I'm sorry, when they started again on Friday, they kept the music very low.
Yeah.
They kept the announcers to a minimal amount of talk and tone.
Yeah.
Like not on hype. I spoke to one of the announcers, Logan Vanderpool, and she was she was devastated on Thursday afternoon at the staff meeting. And she was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it tomorrow. Yeah. And so what they did is they kept them very reserved, and then they built it up throughout the day as the crowd started to
kind of let the crowd
the crowd determine the tone.
That's good.
And they did the same thing on Saturday, starting, and then the clean ladder was where things kind of opened up and people were just going.
I mean, that's the kind of
nuts.
Event that just erupts.
And man, those athletes, they, with all that they've been through, to come in and have to hit that, they did it with a passion. They were on fire.
Yeah.
It was so fun to watch.
It's almost like those that were really getting into it or had a really strong purpose to be there for it.
Yeah. 3-3-2-2-1-1. just to watch them get into those heavier weights and just manhandle them.
250, 365 at the end of that last one.
Yes. And again, it's one of those things where I watch the women go, and the round I could do with the women would be round 1. I could do round 1 with the women. I think I can make it all the way through fairly comfortable. I probably would be in last, but I could make it through. And then they get to the round 2 for the women. I'm like, oh, son of a mother. They all start to leave me behind.
Yeah.
And the weights at the end, wow, man, 230, 240,
biggest
250 for the women.
Biggest weights we've seen in this kind of a workout.
Watching them recover from failed cleans to recovering and getting the clean, and the crowd just going nuts and using the energy, that was really cool.
Yeah, and it just kind of shows what the human body is capable of.
Yeah.
Just as far as a progression from year 1.
I love the push-pull workout and the handstand push-ups.
I love seeing the freestanding handstand push-ups.
Yeah, and Tia was challenged in this event.
I think this was a better execution than it did the first time that they brought the freestanding handstands in.
I remember that.
Yeah,
that was in Madison. That was in Madison.
Yeah. This on the lines that were all like super, super tight.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was like hard to follow.
It was.
This was a lot clearer.
Yeah. And there were athletes that were failing it, and it was really neat to see that. And the pulling from the sleds looked cool, and it didn't look like there was much challenge there. To the final day, the Dickies triplet. That's a kind of a classic style, triplet, 5 rounds for time, a classic triplet. Run 175 meters, toes to bar, alternating dumbbell snatches.
Grippy.
Yeah. I watched our athletes do it here.
Yeah, Jackson
and Maddie, and man, those dumbbells. So the first rounds were fast, like boom, just flying, and then all of a sudden, the weight of that dumbbell. Now Jackson, tall guy, big hands. He's like that's a good movement for him.
It's a a good workout for him.
Yeah, that's a great workout.
I think he finished it like just.
And Maddie, which I think she's kind of an average size female athlete. Maybe she's a little bit shorter than some of the athletes. But she struggled primarily. And what she said was the grip on the dumbbell.
Yeah.
Which, that's one thing I'm wondering with respect to.
I think that comes down to the fact that we probably haven't spent as much time on the 70s or the 100s.
Yeah, we haven't. Because they break every time we.
And we talked about this last time, right?
You get to a point where oof, you got to drop. Like you have to allow the athletes the leeway to drop those weights under fatigue, because otherwise they're going to hurt themselves.
But knowing how to drop
what's
it
so
they don't break.
What I'm wondering is, does Rogue have a barbell for women in these events? Like, so on the barbell event, they've got a smaller diameter barbell.
Yeah,
it allows for a better grip for a smaller hand.
Same dumbbell.
But
it's the same dumbbell.
It's the same dumbbell. So they have
for sure.
So this is a harder workout for women.
Absolutely.
Just because of the grip strength.
Yeah.
Or no, not the grip strength, just the grip itself.
The diameter of the
diameter. Yeah, the diameter of the handle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that would be something I would urge CrossFit to see if they could change. Figure out how to, do dumbbells, but give the women a smaller diameter bar.
We have a few dumbbells that have a narrower diameter. Now that I think about
it,
there's a couple that are a little bit on the narrower diameter.
Not purposefully. That was probably some manufacturing defect at the factory in China.
Or they're just different batches.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like different batches.
Yeah,
but there is a narrower grip, which means it's out there.
We got most of our dumbbells from Apollo. That's where most of the people outsource them in.
Which of those dumbbells came from
in Rogue source
equipment, right?
Yeah, but that was
Back
Apollo.
But
they all came from Apollo, and that's CrossFit. Or I think Rogue does the same thing. It's the same supplier.
Okay,
it's the same factory and shipping container full of those things.
Yeah.
And then the final with the final event, which was thrusters, chest bar pull-ups, yoke carry, chest bar pull-ups, thrusters, and then rest a couple minutes, and then go into thrusters, bar muscle-ups, yoke carry.
It's a good yoke carry right there.
Right. And
345, 525.
Yeah. That last part.
That's a good yoke carry.
Yeah. And that was an exciting event.
That's a good race.
It's a cool race. It's longer, so it gives the fans that are watching that last event get there's a lot of activity going on there that you're hoping for changes in the outcome.
I guess if you think about it, that is 10 events right there.
Yeah,
not 9.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I see how
because
you're
when you
how
put
you're
the two,
saying.
when you put those two together, I mean,
together,
event
yeah.
10 is the final 18, 15.
So it was, it was a good adjustment on the fly by the CrossFit team to pull these off.
Yeah.
All in all, like the save for the obvious tragic event, it was a good group of workouts in the arena. Exciting to watch, a good fan experience, and will be in the future, I think, a great venue. There's some things they've got to work out,
Yeah.
like the access, making the access easier everywhere, so you can just, once you're in, it would be great once you're in, just to be able to go where you got to go, without having to worry about your bag being scanned everywhere. That's the only thing, is the bag scanning.
Yeah.
Like, so put some sort of barrier on the outside where everybody gets a bag scan once and it's in there, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And then you let them go, and if they go in the arena, they got to show their ticket where they have a seat. That's it. Like, you can do it that way.
That's the move. That's the way to go.
I'm hopeful that they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because it'll create a much better fan experience. And the other thing I would encourage CrossFit to do is try and have maybe fill up another event.
Bring the pool back.
Well,
bring the volleyball, beach volleyball.
Yeah. Well, so there's all these stockyard buildings that were being renovated that were there, like, because that's a big stockyard area that it's, for all the livestock shows that they do, not only the rodeo, but they do livestock shows. So there's all these buildings that were being renovated that were nearby, big hangars, and within those hangars they could do all the food vendors. Like, you could bring food, they could do all kinds of cool stuff.
They can expand it out
with that facility.
Further. Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that they could create they could put, like, one of those pools in there and make it fun.
Did you make your way over to the RV area at all? Just kind of peek it out for maybe a future?
Yes, I walked by it. And so I will tell you this. It was on cement. It was, an average probably 95 to 100 degrees there the entire time.
Yeah.
There was no shade in that RV area. It looked hot and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And for me, was glad that I didn't drive the RV down this year for that reason. Because, an RV in the heat, RVs don't do well in hot weather. You're running the AC full time. And
burn that out.
I don't know if there was anything going on in there, whether Mayhem had an event. I didn't get to go into the RV area.
Okay.
It was very close to Dickey's Arena.
Okay. But it wasn't like it was in Madison where you walk out, walk in kind of situation.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's good to know.
Yeah. It was not the same type of experience. Here's what I wanted to comment on was the vendor area. So you remember what it was like at Madison, right? And you had the big Rogue building, you had the big Reebok building, and then it became Big Noble building. This was all in one facility. And I felt like there was probably about 10% more vendors there, just barely a few more vendors.
Okay.
It had a smaller footprint than if you take the combined footprint of the Rogue building, the Noble building, and then the vendor area. So there was more spread out at Madison, whereas it was all in one place in Ft.Worth. And like Rogue's spot was probably 3,000 total square feet. No, maybe 2,000 total square feet. So not huge. It just didn't have the same.
A little smaller than it was at Madison. Yeah.
Yes. But there was a big line there selling all the equipment. Like there was a huge line on Sunday for people going in to buy equipment.
Buy equipment after they've been done using it at the
CrossFit
games.
store had a huge booth in the middle. Oh, look, am I on? So, okay. CrossFit had a huge store in the middle that was all the GoRuck stuff. And that was pretty cool. And then all the other vendors that were there who were grateful that the event continued, by the way.
Yeah.
They were all very sad. They were all very touched, but they were really worried about the event continuing because they have all of that inventory. Like this is a huge investment for them, huge risk that they're taking. So they were super grateful that it stayed open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday so that they could, do what they came there to do.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are commenting about, corporate, sponsorship and CrossFit's just interested in money, what they're interested in the drive towards corporate sponsorship, one, helps create better venues for the games, but it also helps create relationships with the athletes that leads to sponsorship and generates more money for the athletes.
Yeah.
All of the corporate sponsorship as well and corporate relationships are important to generating or creating a huge prize package. So you're able to do $330,000 for first place for the men and the women. Like all of that comes from the corporate relationships that CrossFit is generating and creating, that they work very, very hard to create. And canceling the games threatens the future of those relationships.
Shoot.
Yeah, and that's really dangerous to the continuation of the games as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's really dangerous to the income potential for athletes who are spending an entire year
investing
training, investing in themselves to do this.
Yeah.
So it was really cool that it stayed open for those guys, and they all did a good job. Now in there, I will tell you this: in that arena, there was also a place for the public to work out. That was cool.
That's cool.
And there was demonstrations going on there. The affiliate council, that's where the affiliate area was. So that was really neat. So once you got in there, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was really, first of all, it was air conditioned. It was super nice. And there were some food vendors in there. So it was, I like that area. I wish it was like you could go down in the Dickies tunnel. Like I wish you could leave right the arena, like, and walk through a tunnel and go into it. That would, that's the best situation.
Like an easy access.
Yeah, like really easy access. It was it was a 200-meter walk.
That'd probably help with the bottleneck.
Outdoors in the heat, and then you had to wait in line.
Yeah.
And that might have deterred some people from spending more time there.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But that was nice too. All in all, great games. And for, again, despite what, the tragedy that occurred. So we're not taking away from anything that happened. And I will tell you that the only thing I'll add is this: everybody in the CrossFit community is grieving. Everyone. We all are CrossFit. Anybody that CrossFits and goes to a CrossFit affiliate knows how tight the bonds are within the community, between athletes, between members, between coaches. It's all very tight. So we're all very, very sad, and no one, wanted this to happen at every level within CrossFit in the organization. And my only comment would be, please allow them the time, the proper amount of time, however long that is, to get the details of everything behind this incident, because there's a lot of details. It's not as obvious as just looking at, the screen and seeing what happened and going, well, I know what the reason is. This, allow
them one perspective.
Please, just, all I can urge is, yes, grieve, yes, post and talk about, how it impacted you. That's fine. But
don't point fingers.
Yeah. Let's not point fingers yet. Let's wait until, and then and trust Dave and Don and the entire CrossFit team to
do what's right.
Yeah. They're military guys. They're going to do what's right.
For sure.
They will, I assure you. Anyway, that's it. That was good discussion. Anything else you want to throw in?
No. Glad we
dude, I feel
are
better.
Moving forward.
Yeah. I feel much better having done this. And I'm grateful. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Anyone that tunes in. We appreciate it. If you're watching this afterwards or later, again, in any comments on this, please keep them civil.
Yeah.
We love CrossFit. We love the athletes. We love our community, and we're going to try and spread that as far and as wide as we can. Cheers.
Till next time.